With an increase in foreclosures throughout the United States, we know a lot of California buyers are looking forward to showing up at Trustee sale to buy a California foreclosure. But SB 1079 has changed the foreclosure sale process in the state of California. Certain eligible bidders are able to snatch those properties away from real estate investors after the foreclosure sale. And make sure you stick around to the end where we talk about some of the risks that come when you buy at a California trustee sale. Hey there, Christian Walsh with Wire Associates. We're real estate agents based in Southern California, helping buyers and sellers, tenants and landlords navigate these crazy days in California and beyond. And we're here with a big update on SB 1079 and foreclosure auctions. So we have been around foreclosure auctions for a long time. In our business, we've listed bank-owned homes, and we've also gone with our clients to the courthouse steps to help them buy homes at the foreclosure auction. It used to be you'd show up with your big bag of cash, or more likely a big bag of cashier's checks, and whoever had the highest bid at the end of the sale was the one who took the property home. But not anymore. SB 1079, or SB 1079 if you prefer, has changed the name of the game. After the sale has closed, certain eligible bidders will be able to bid on the property and take it away from the third party or the lender if it's gone back to the bank. And remember, we can't give tax or legal advice, but for the most honest and up-to-date real estate advice, subscribe to this channel. Here's a quick reminder that California is a non-judicial foreclosure state, which means it doesn't have to go in front of a judge. When a loan is put in place on a property, there's three parties. There's the trustor, or the borrower. There's the beneficiary, which is the lender, also known as the Benny. And there's the trustee, and the trustee services the loan, and they do certain actions based on what the Benny tells them to do. So in the event that a trustor or borrower misses a payment, 120 days later, the trustee can file the notice of default. 90 days later, they can file the notice of trustee sale, and then 21 days later, the sale can take place. Now, typically the process takes longer in the state of California, but that is the timeline as laid out by law. So at the trustee sale, the trustee is going to actually sell the property. He's going to look for bidders on the beneficiary's property. The highest and last bidder is typically the one who gets a trustee's deed. They get a trustee's deed to the property that they can file, and the property is theirs. But SB 1079 has changed this. SB 1079 has the nickname Homes for Homeowners, Not Corporations. And it was put into place to rectify some of the situations that occurred after the 2008 crash. So it was signed into law on September 28th, 2020. It went into effect on January 1st, 2021, and runs through January 1st, 2026, unless extended. And of course, as we always do, we have a link below to the full text of the bill so you can read it for yourself. This law applies to loans on all 1 to 4 unit properties in the state of California, whether it's a tenant occupied or an owner occupied property. SB 1079 applies. One of the big changes is that properties can no longer be bundled together. So in the past, they'd put together big groups of properties and sell those to corporations because there were so many properties to sell. Now in California, SB 1079 says that each property must be auctioned off individually. One of the biggest changes in the bill is the fact that now eligible bidders can bid on a property after the sale. So who are the eligible bidders? There's essentially 3 major categories, and they're all outlined in the bill, of course, but the first one is the eligible tenant. So this specifically is the tenant that is living in a property that's being foreclosed on and living in it as their primary residence. They must have a lease in place with the landlord, who's the trustor. That lease must be dated before the notice of default is filed, and this person cannot be a relative such as a child or parent of the trustor. The next category would be the prospective owner occupant. So the prospective owner occupant is somebody who's going to actually live in the property that they buy at trustee sale. So there's a few requirements here. Again, they can't be related to the trustor. They must commit to moving in within 60 days after the trustee's deed is recorded, and they have to stay there at least a year in order to qualify. They will have to sign an affidavit stating this. So the eligible prospective owner-occupant can also be the eligible tenant. That could be the same person. The prospective owner-occupant has a special power, and that is if they are bidding in the auction at the courthouse steps and they have the last and highest bid, then the property can't be sold after the trustee's sale. So they're able to make it final right there at the courthouse steps. And again, this can be the eligible tenant. So theoretically, an eligible tenant can show up to the trustee sale and buy it as the prospective owner occupant and end it so that there will be no additional bids after the auction. As for the last category of eligible bidders, we're gonna flash it up on the screen right now so you can see the list. It's kind of long and extensive, but basically boils down to groups that are maintaining affordable housing, whether it's an LLC or corporation or a charitable group, and also the state of California, counties, cities, and the regents of the University of California, they're also able to be eligible bidders as well. Let's run through logistics. So after the trustee sale is over, the trustee has 48 hours to post the date of the sale, the amount of the last and highest bid, and the address where other eligible bidders can send their documents. So that's within the first 48 hours after the sale. An eligible bidder then has up to 15 days to submit a non-binding notice of intent to bid. Once that's submitted, they have up until 5 p.m. on the 45th day to get their cash or cashier's check in for the property. A few important notes: the eligible tenant, if they're going to go ahead and take advantage of this first right of refusal, they only have to match the highest bid in order to get the property. The other eligible bidders will have to beat the highest and last bid. If there are more than one eligible bidders that submit on the property after 5 p.m. on day 45, the highest and best offer will be chosen. And based on my reading of SB 1079, if the eligible tenant submits that matching bid, it pretty much ends it for all other eligible bidders. So they do have a lot of power in this situation to keep the home that they've been living in. In addition to submitting cashier's checks, each eligible bidder will need to submit an SB 1079 affidavit explaining which category they fall under. And again, the prospective owner-occupant will have to submit an affidavit stating that they're going to live in the property for at least a year and move in within 60 days after the trustee's deed is recorded. Let's run through some of the risks, otherwise known as the truth, about buying a foreclosed home. So there are quite a few risks when you buy a trustee sale. SB 1079, if you are successful in winning, please bear in mind that if you do not maintain the property, there are stiff fines that you'll have to pay. Up to $2,000 per day for the first 30 days, and then it can go up to $5,000 thereafter. And that's if you're not maintaining the property. So excessive weeds or trash or squatters living in the property, these are stiff fines that SB 1079 levies. Even more risks, and these aren't from SB 1079, these are just in general risks when buying at foreclosure sale. So remember, you are buying a loan. You're not actually buying the real estate. So you're essentially buying a lien position. And why this is important is whichever position you buy, if there's anything in front of you, you owe that money. So for example, if a property has 2 loans and you buy the second loan, that means you still owe the first loan in front of it. So it's very important that you talk to a title rep to make sure that you know exactly what position you're buying. Additionally, there are certain liens that take super priority and can move to the front of the line. So this could be taxes, it could be HOA dues that are owed. So it's very important that you understand exactly what you're buying and what position you're in at the foreclosure sale. One of the major ones is, unless you're the eligible tenant that's bidding on the property, you won't know what the condition of the property is. You won't be able to do an inspection before bidding on the property. And this is whether you bid at the sale or you bid after the trustee sale as an eligible bidder. So you're not going to have a full awareness of exactly how the condition is. And even if you do know the condition, it could change. For example, if squatters break in, or if there's a tenant that's living there that's not happy they have to move, they could destroy the property as well. And that segues into another risk, and that is a tenant occupied property. So if you're not the eligible tenant, if you're one of the other eligible bidders, and there's a tenant in place, you have to follow strict guidelines. If that tenant is month to month, you have to give them a minimum of a 90-day notice. And right there, you run into a problem. The affidavit, as a prospective owner-occupant, says you're going to move in within 60 days after trustee's deed is recorded. But you have to give a 90-day notice to the tenant. So those numbers don't quite add up. If the tenant still has a lease in place, you must honor that lease. Otherwise, if you want to get them out, you're going to have to pay cash for keys, which means more money you have to factor into the deal. Don't forget, this is an all cash purchase. When you're buying at the trustee sale or after the trustee sale, you cannot finance the property for the purchase. It has to be cash or cashier's check. And one of the ones that we're aware of, because we've been to the courthouse steps, is the fact that there's professionals there who don't like the competition. If you've been there before, you may have seen Greg with his big stack of papers. He's been there literally for decades buying properties at the courthouse steps. So there are several professionals there that don't like to see other competition there. And what they can do is they can make life difficult. They can bid a property up. They can work together to bid it up to make you pay more. There's also been cases of collusion where they've all worked together and bid on a property and then gone off in the other corner and then split up the properties at the end of the day amongst themselves. So it's very important that you understand at the trustee sale that you are amongst potentially some sharks in those waters. As mentioned, we have links below to the full text of the bill. We recommend you read that yourself, plus several other helpful links that we used in researching this video. Of course, you can reach out to us if you have any other questions or you'd like any assistance. We've got our contact info below as well. If you found this helpful, please be sure to give that like button one gentle, loving tap and leave your questions below. I'm sure you have some more. And we're going to keep this content coming, so I recommend you subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and subscribe to our free email newsletter. It comes out every Sunday, 11:30 a.m. Pacific, where we cover topics like this, plus eviction moratoria, topics for tenants and landlords, market updates, and a whole lot more. Thanks for tuning in. This has been Christian Walsh, Wire Associates, and we appreciate you.